Hello and welcome back to Teach Talk with the Fine Arts. My name is Sarah and I'm your host. This is part 2 with Mattie Jones. If you didn't catch the first episode, be sure to go back and listen to that before you listen to this one. I'm super excited. I hope you like it. And without further ado, let's get into it. I don't even know what I'm going to call this episode. Be like, everything.
Well, I mean, we're talking about the internet and you're dealing with having to deal with your virtual stuff online. So, I mean,
Full circle. Full circle.
But there you go. It all connects, honey. It all connects. We'll talk about whatever. I'm game to whatever. Music, a cat, whatever.
A cat. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Okay.
Oh gosh. Maybe I should do a podcast. My gosh. Now you're like really tempting me to do it. So
It's super easy, and I can tell you, Siri, go away.
Oh gosh.
I'm just gonna turn it off. I'm just like, anyway. Okay. It's super easy, and we can talk about that after, but like, super easy.
I think I could do it. I think I really could. Because everyone, like, you're like, I don't know how many people have said that. So you have been like, I'm going to add you to the group of people that have said that exact same thing. That I have the persona to do it.
You do. And like, if I'm doing it, you can do it.
Oh my gosh.
If Little Quiet Sarah's doing it, you can do it.
I know what. Hey, you've really come out of your box. I remember how quiet you actually used to be.
I was scared.
You were, and then you clung on to someone who was the complete opposite of you. Me.
Dude, I was talking about Wilson the other night and like the ghost, but that's like a different story. But like, I remember like going to your room and having to walk by the elevators, and like that's what reminded me of the ghost. But I was just like, oh man, I'd run by the elevators just to get to your room because it freaked me out so bad.
Oh my God. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Ugh. I hated that stupid, what did they even call it? It wasn't even like a legit elevator. It was more like a service elevator. That's what it was. Those things were sketchy. I hated that thing when I had when I was moving. They were sketchy.
Yeah.
They were because I mean you had the wire gate, then you had the actual door, and it was so slow. It always sounded like it was this the entire time.
Wilson was rough, man. Like, Wilson was rough.
Yeah, it was. Oh my gosh. It was. I mean, I basically lived on all the floors except the third floor. I didn't even live on the first floor. I lived on the basement level and second floor. Yeah, second floor. So, I mean, I was all over the place in that building pretty much. Or I knew someone that was pretty much on every single floor. So I was all over the place. But, oh my gosh. I know, it was, Wilson was a different dorm. Apparently, it's so different now, apparently, at Old Concord. Like, there's not even a WU anymore. Yeah, the WU is not even, like, a dorm anymore. They're turning it into, like, they're trying to, from what I've been hearing, is that they're trying to, like, be like other universities where each department has its own building. But, like, the Rayon building was, like, the technology building, pretty much, right? And,
yeah.
And things like that. So they're doing something with the WU, making it some type of department.
Oh, that's weird, though.
They're trying to move everybody pretty much over into towers. I think they still definitely have people in Wilson. I think they still have co-ed living in Sarvey. I think. but they're like, I don't think the Woo is not even a dorm anymore from the last that I heard.
That's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And on top of that, oh girl, because there's a girl that I work now you're starting up. Now you're getting me started. A girl that I worked with, she is actually in the music education program at Concord. She was telling me what her credentials are, what she needs to graduate for the music education program. I was highly upset what she was telling me. She has not had to take an applied lesson in
Really?
like, yeah, she says she hasn't had a lesson in like 3 years. I think that's what she said.
What is
She
she?
said 2 or 3 years. She's like vocal and piano, and but she's like, she hasn't had any like vocal lessons. They don't have to do singing recitals anymore, Sarah.
I knew that. Yeah. I was like the last official one, I think.
No junior recitals. No. Do you want to know how mad I was? I was like, are you kidding me?
Do you know how much I cried over that recital? And you don't even have to do it.
It's stressful. No, I told her that, and I was like, girl, do you want to know how much work we had to do for that? We had to write a paper on top of performing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so much work that went into it. Well, it was crazy that even when I was still there, there's people that transferred from Concord to like Marshall, just for example, and they're just like, the things that you have to do for the music education program at Concord is like so intense compared to what like all these other schools do. And I found that to be very odd. And I was like, we're just like, Concord is just a small liberal arts school. This doesn't seem like it's very, I mean, it's tough, yeah, but I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be nothing compared to like what Marshall or WVU or whatever would have to do. But they said that a couple of my friends that transferred, they were just like, you don't have to do hardly half of what you have to do at Concord than you have to do here. And I was like, what in the world? So,
Yeah.
I don't know. Crazy. But they were the most, I mean, that was like, you know about it. You're told about how hard it's going to be to work up to that senior recital from day one. Day one. And it's just like, all of a sudden now I hear you don't even have to do a junior recital or a senior recital or any of that stuff. I'm like, that's what prepares you to be any type of performer, is those recitals and stuff like that. And now you don't have to do it. I was like, how is that even? I don't see how that prepares you to even really be a music educator at all if you don't have that at all in your curriculum. That's something that's just not right in my mind. You have to make them cry a little bit.
Make them cry.
It's stressful. It really is stressful. But I mean, daggone, once you pass it and then you give the performance, I mean, it's just, it's worth it. But my God, leading up to it, it is terrifying.
I cried after the recital hearing and the recital out of just pure, like, release. Like, after my hearing, I just sat in the band room and just cried. I was just like, it's over.
I cried after my hearing. Yeah, I did. It was, I mean, well, that was just a stressful time for me anyway, because it was like, I had to take it 3 times, the hearing 3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was very stressful, because it was just like, it's like they wanted to pass me, but there was just something that they were just like, they didn't feel like I was ready for. So after the first 2, I was like, am I even not going to be able to get out of the music department? What in the world am I going to have to do? So I actually took lessons. I quote unquote graduated, quote unquote, in this, in the summer of 14. But I actually took lessons from a trombone professor over at Radford. And
I remember that.
Yeah, because I was going over to Radford once a week and taking lessons over there. And then it was just such a different environment. It was such a different environment over there. and in their music department. I actually got to play with their pep band a few times at basketball games at Radford, because the trombone professor was like, come and join us. I was like, okay. So I actually got to perform with their pep band a couple of times. Yeah, it was awesome. That was really cool. But then after taking lessons with him for like a month and stuff like that, and then I had, some sessions with Laurel Black. I mean, the hearing went fine, passed. Everything went great. It was no problem. So it was awesome. So he was Dr. Daryl Burnett was the trombone professor that helped me with my lessons for my senior recital over at Radford. He's still there. He's awesome. He's a great professor. I met several of the professors that were over there, and they are all really nice. There's actually several people that I know from Concord that actually went over into the music program at Radford, and they said it's a really good program over there.
I've heard, yeah.
Radford's a really nice school anyway. It's like definitely bigger than Concord, but I wouldn't say it's big like Marshall. It's almost like in between Concord and Marshall size. It's kind of in between. So, but their practice rooms are actually soundproof. So it's
they have those like fancy ones that you can change like the. Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those are nice.
And they take their practice rooms very seriously over there. Let me just tell you, they keep them nice and clean. The pianos are constantly tuned over there. I mean, again, not to diss Concord, not to diss them, but I mean, we're just comparing. I mean, but it was definitely a different vibe with their music department over there. It was definitely different.
For those listening that don't know what I'm talking about, and me and Matt were just kind of like, yeah. Anyway, so basically you can change like the temperature.
It's like a temperature frequency type thing. I don't know how to explain it. Sound or like oh Lord, now I can't think of the name of it. There's a certain word that I'm trying to think of, and I can't think of it right at the moment. But you're able to change it to like make it. I'm pretty sure it's like something that you can change. Like it's like with frequency. I'm pretty sure it's something within that realm. There's some of them that are like your standard practice rooms, like it's just a soundproof one, but then they have some of the fancier ones there. So obviously, and they actually have, which I also thought was really neat, they actually have, of course, you can tell that there's certain practice rooms that are better than others, because there's actually a schedule where you can actually put your name down on a schedule over there, which I thought that was really cool. It's like, you want to get in that practice room, you put your name down on this schedule, and this is your time slot that you get, which I found that to be really cool.
That is cool, and it's like cool that they actually like needed it, because it's like find a practice room at Concord, like no problem. But
yeah, it was like every time that I went over there for my lesson, there was sound all the time. You can always walk by and there's always someone in a practice room over there.
Yeah.
Always. So, and I thought that was really, it was either, always a piano, definitely always a piano going on. Every now and then I would hear a brass person in there, but there was always music everywhere. Mm-hmm. Vocals, I always heard someone singing, but there was always music playing constantly in those practice rooms. And they probably had about the same amount of practice rooms that Concord had, maybe a few more, because theirs was a little bit different. It was like the main hall, and then it broke off into like other small halls, and it had like 3 on that little hall, like 3 little practice rooms,
right,
in that little hall. That's kind of how theirs was set up. I think there was like it was like 3 or 4 of those little, like off of the main hall. It broke off 3 different times. So there was 3 practice rooms on each of those little halls. So, I mean, there was probably like, 9, 12 practice rooms maybe. So at least 12. So, I mean, they were very nice. A lot's probably about the same size as the Concord practice rooms too. Probably, they weren't very big. So they were pretty small. for those who are listening, the Concord practice rooms, they were not, there was, I think, wasn't there just one that was soundproof? Wasn't there just one? It was the one at the very end of the hall near the piano room. I thought. I could be very, very wrong. But the other ones, they were just concrete walls. There wasn't anything to them. There, it was just, there was the sound quality was not great. So you definitely, it was kind of a struggle bus in there. But it was still a great little area we were very fortunate, obviously, to have, practice rooms and people taking care of them and stuff like that. But it was not soundproof at Concord. So, which was,
I'm super thankful for what we had.
Oh gosh, because there's other small universities that they probably only have. I don't even know, but I'm sure that there's probably other small universities with other little bands and stuff that probably don't even have half of what we had.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely thankful for everything that I was able to, all the practice time that I had in there. Because usually on average, I was in there 8 hours a day. On average, combined. The longest that I ever stayed in there consecutively was 9 hours. It was just I had a lot I needed to practice because I was in concert band, marching band, Celtic ensemble, jazz ensemble, brass ensemble, the a cappella group, the camerata singers, and the choir. So I was in 7 groups that year.
Oh, wow.
It was a lot. it was a lot. I had a lot on my plate for those couple of years. So, but it was so much fun. So I was in there doing so many different things. So that's why I was always in there for just hours upon hours sometimes. Going there at 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, just constantly practicing. So I was all over the place. Yep. I actually ended up not even practicing in the practice rooms. I actually liked to play in the theory room. I loved practicing in there. That was a really nice place for me to practice.
Excuse me. Dude, no, I swear it's every time we record, every time I hit record, my stomach just starts making all these weird noises. And I'm just why?
AKA how my stomach was in Austria. It was awful. But that's definitely not a podcast story. At least not this one.
I'm sure there's a podcast talking about weird sicknesses.
The ones that I listen to. They talk about everything because they're comedians. They talk about whatever they want. So, oh my gosh. So good.
Now what? I may split this up into 2 parts.
Go for it. You do you thing, honey. You do your thing. I know we're talking about music and then we segue into something else because whatever I say or you say segues into this.
It's completely fine though because it's I teach civics now and I have a fine arts podcast. It's just whatever.
That's still so crazy that you're now in history.
Well,
and civics and stuff like that.
I started out as a social studies ed major when I first went to college.
Really?
Yeah. And then
I did not know that.
Interdis for music and business. But I was I'm going to go ahead and finish a history degree, a BA in history, because I already have all these classes. So I ended up graduating with a BA in history and the Interdis degree. So
look at you, girl. No, I didn't know that. Well, I started out, for me, I started out as music education. Then I got to my junior year, and I was wait, when am I supposed to take all of these education classes? And then if I would have started when I did, which was the spring of my junior year, I would have been there for maybe another 2 more years to try to get all of my education classes done.
Yeah.
I was already there. I already knew I was going to be there for 5 years. So, I kind of got, it's, it is what it is. So that's when they switched me over to the interdisciplinary studies degree. So my main focus being music, even though music is not in my degree title, but it is music. I mean, if you look at the transcripts, it says it's all music, and then there's some communication that's there.
And that bothers me so bad. It's like, but you have an interdisc degree, and I'm like, but I have like the credits for a music degree.
Yeah. The only thing that we're missing is the only thing that the only thing that I'm missing really is just the education credentials. That's really the only core stuff that I'm missing, is just the education credentials. And that's the struggle that right now what I'm trying to find is that I'm trying to find a college that will accept me with the credentials that I have from undergrad. And it's like like 3 different colleges that I've actually talked to. I've talked to like admissions people, and I told them kind of like what the story was and, you know, what my, you know, credits and everything were. And they're like, you should be able to go straight in for a master's. And I'm like, part of me is like, that's great. But then there's part of me that's just like, but I don't have an undergrad in education at all. Like I have none of that. So it's just like, I'm terrified that I'm like, I'm going to have to literally start all over, at least to some degree, of like, see, I haven't changed, Sarah. I'm the same person. But I'll have to start over at some point. And it's just like, I don't want to start all the way back over because I've already done that already. But I mean, if push comes to shove, I'll do it. But it's like, I would prefer not to. I'd like to just kind of go right into it. Because again, the only thing that I'm missing is the education portion of all of everything that I need for teaching music.
Like, I've heard of multiple people doing that, just being like, just to get your master's in it.
It's just, and that's so, like, that's so baffling to me. Maybe it's just because I'm just, you know, come from a simple-minded town or whatever, and just like when you think of college, you know, you think when you go to that one college, you get everything right there. You're set and ready to go from there. But it's just like, I don't know. Just, it's crazy. It's all of it's just absolutely bananas with all of that.
There's also another online program that I'm going to apply to as well. It's like the American College of Education, I think. And
I've seen that one, yeah.
Yeah, and one of their degrees prepares you. It's like pretty much what you're saying. Do you have a degree in something that you're just missing the education part? Then this is what this program's for. Like, it literally says that on their website.
Dang. Jeez. Oh.
Hi.
She was tired of not getting her attention, so she came back up on the bed. Hi, Teeny. Spool rotten. You're spool rotten, aren't you? See, we're going back to cats. Just instantly, right back to cats.
I'll always go to cats, so I'm just like,
it's perfectly fine. Don't rub up on this. Well, thank you. Spool rotten. So, any other questions for me?
man.
And I mean, even though I was like the glorified assistant band director, even just from the little things that I mean, of course, I was only able to do so much, but from just like, of course, he would tell me a lot of the things that was going on and stuff like that, you know, up to a certain degree, you know, a certain point. But some of the things that he was able to tell me, it was messed up. Like, there's just no support for the arts, and it was so sad. And it was just like, and there's a cartoon, and it makes me think of it every single time of how I'm seeing the education system now. It's like, it's a cartoon, and it shows you like back in the day where it was like the kid would get punished for not doing well in school. And then, you know, and the parents would support the teacher. And then it's like flipped to today where it's like the teacher's getting yelled at for the student not doing well. I see that cartoon all the time. And it's just like, even though I was a substitute teacher I actually substitute taught even when I was in college too, for a little bit, just as like a general substitute teacher at whatever.
Yeah.
And I could truly tell that that's when the system really started to change, where it was just like the teachers were getting yelled at because the student is not doing well. And that is bananas. Because that is definitely not how I was raised, honey. If I didn't do well, I got the fussing. Not the teacher. I got the fussing. Oh, and it's definitely not like that now. And it's sad. It's really sad.
I know, it's like, if someone doesn't get the assignment or doesn't know how to work it, they're like, did you explain it? You know? And it's like, okay, but why is, like, a majority of them getting it then if, like, I didn't do it right?
Yeah.
It's always the same ones. It's like, I'll look at my grades and they're exactly the same, like the averages, because it's like, it's the same students that aren't doing the work. So it's like, yeah.
And then what can you do? And then what can you do?
I've been doing participation, honestly. Like, it's like, if you turn it in, like, okay.
And that's so sad. And that's not how it should be. But I mean, I'm sure, I mean, you have a lot more insight with the teaching with COVID and everything now. And it's just like, it has to be so difficult compared to like a normal day of school, like it was a year ago, compared to now. I mean, the grading scale has to be so vastly different. Like how you grade has to be so different now compared to what it was a year ago. I feel for the education system, and it's terrifying because we definitely need educators. We need teachers. We need them, obviously. Yeah. But it's just like, with all of this, I wonder, and that's an interesting like statistic. I wonder, like, with COVID and everything with teaching, I wonder if like the percentage of people going into the education degrees and stuff will go down, or
I guarantee it.
Or maybe will it spike? I don't know, but I mean, it's just like, I mean, unfortunately, if this is going to be like the new norm for the next year, because I mean, there's some people that are saying that, you know, we probably won't go back to the real normal to like the end of next year or something like that, is the last something that I heard or whatever. And it's just like, and I feel bad for, you know, people who are like, yeah, I want to be a teacher and stuff like that. And then they're seeing how all of this is going now. And if this is going to be the temporary normal for a while, being virtual and stuff like that, I'm actually interested to know if anyone is going to major in education, if the percentage of like if a statistic, if like education is actually going to go down in stats for people who are wanting to pursue it for their major. I want to know, I want to figure out, when was the time that it became where school was like a daycare center? I want to try to figure out that time, because I started kind of noticing that a little bit when I was in college, and I would go back and substitute teach in elementary school. Actually, she almost knocked over my phone. But my original elementary school that I used to go to, I started noticing that, because it was like, it was just small things where it was like, the students would crave to get a hug from the teachers. And I'm just like, are they not getting just the little things like that? I mean, it's not what we were just talking about, but it was like, are they not getting hugs at home? Are they not getting any kind of attention at home? And I started noticing that, and I was like, oh my God, this breaks my heart. This is awful. But then all of a sudden, I just started noticing, again, that cartoon that I was telling you about. I started noticing that a lot more as I was going through college, and I would go back and I would like help out at my high school and stuff like that. And I was like, I want to know when this completely shifted. But it is definitely, schools are definitely not what it was like when I was like in middle school, elementary, and high school. It is definitely not like that now.
No.
People are like, after I left high school and then came back and was, you know, every now and then, like, all of the students were calling the teachers by their first names. When did that become a thing?
That doesn't fly. Like, no.
Everybody in my old high school would like never say Mr. and Mrs. so-and-so, or, like if they had a difficult name, maybe the teacher would say, yeah, call me Mr. C, or, call me this, or call me, it's fine. But there is always a Mr. or Mrs. or something, or Ms. whatever. Yeah. No, I would substitute teach, and they would be like, now, granted, some of the kids that I would substitute teach for, they knew me prior to me substitute teaching, so they knew me outside of the school system first. So it was like, it's fine that they call me Mattie. It was fine. But the ones that definitely did not know me, I would always say, I'm Miss Jones, whatever. But all of the teachers, they were perfectly fine with them calling them by their first name. And I'm like, beg pardon? That is not how that was supposed to go. You address the teacher by Mr. and Mrs. blank.
Yeah.
I mean, that just shows right there that there is just no respect between the student and teacher right there. I think that's where a lot of the problems, I think, are starting to, and that's just from kind of like experiencing it firsthand when I would substitute teach a lot. And it's just like, I would never, oh my gosh. Oh, no, I don't like that at all. Don't like that at all. And I think too, the students, no matter where you are, even if you are going to like a school with a reputation, or even a school that doesn't have a reputation, I think just students have that thing about them that they want to rip apart a brand new student or a brand new teacher. They just like when they rip apart a substitute teacher.
Yeah.
They want to do it because they want to see
if you don't establish that the first day, they know that, and they feed off of that. Like if they know you're new and they know you're like, hey guys, they're gonna feed off of it.
Yep. Exactly.
Like you have to stop that. Like even if they start it, like if they start trying to be like, you can be like, you nip it right then and there.
Mm-hmm. Thank goodness I actually had the substitute teaching skills when I was, in college, and I was doing it on the elementary level.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would substitute teach more in the high school level. And I actually had a little bit of an advantage just because a lot of the kids already knew who I was, but they didn't know me on that level of being their teacher, a substitute teacher or whatever. And I mean, even you and I know we were like that with substitute teachers too. We were like that. We wanted to, get out of doing work or whatever. We wanted to do it. I mean, hello. So, but I think that also kind of comes into our advantage too, because we know how they are, especially since we're close to their age and we know some of the tricks of the trade, So it was like some of them, they already knew who I was. And then some of them knew who I was as a coach prior to being a substitute teacher. So they already knew like my standard going into it because they knew how I was if they didn't listen to me or whatever. So I had some advantages when I would go into teaching in the high school level. I had that advantage, thankfully. But I mean, especially in the music courses, I didn't in music class. I think they thought at the very beginning when I would substitute teach and he would be out that they would not play. We had regular band class. Like he had never left and he was sitting there in the corner and I was running it or whatever. And that just made them so much better. And they realized that at the end. They realized that it just made their concert sound so much better and yada, yada, yada. But it was like they tried their best sometimes to get out of it. They tried. But all of their music classes, like even like music appreciation, choir, whatever, I still did like a regular class. I didn't at all. I didn't, like every now and then it was just like, you don't have to worry about teaching them, put on a movie or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, it was a regular class because one, he was giving me that opportunity to actually like legitimately teach, which was awesome. I'm very thankful for that he even did that for me. So, but I mean, you have to with any kid, any age kid, you have to set the standard on who you are.
Oh, yeah.
And that, I mean, thankfully, again, I learned that very quickly from all of the teachers that I had with elementary level when I substitute taught there. They'd be like, you tell them who you are, you tell them your standard, or, you know, whatever the verbiage was, and you go from there. You make them listen to you. And I was like, okay. And I kept that with me through the entire time that I would substitute teach. I would never like act like their best friend or act like whatever with them. I would never do that. Even when I was a coach, I would never do that. First started out being a coach, I would never allow them to act like I was their buddy. No, because there needs to be that hard line of respect. Like, yeah, I'll still like, I want us to have a good time and still learn and stuff like that. But it's like that fine line that you have to balance on and work on and walk on, you know, of like still being a really fun teacher, but also you have a standard.
Oh,
yeah. You know, that type of thing. It's, yeah. So I have all of like the mentality of being the teacher because of the experience that I've had being like substitute teaching and stuff like that. So it's like, I have the mentality of doing it. I have the sternness. I have the, you know, especially with my current job now with, and working in hospitality and working with that kids camp for 2 summers. Them little rich snobby kids, you have to give them a hard line of like, we're here to have fun. I'm here to teach you all this stuff. But if I tell you to do this, you better do it. So, because some of them do not have any, like, you know, they basically get to they run their roosts at home. They get to run their household. And it's crazy dealing with that. So it was definitely a different world when I came into this profession. So that's very temporary. Let me tell you, it's very temporary. So, but I will also say this too, is that even if it's a summertime job, like a lot of people always say, like everyone should work in the food service industry. I also agree that you need to work in the hospitality industry too, because working in the hospitality industry will make you such a tougher person mentally, and it will make you so strong in so many different ways. Your presenting yourself will make you so much better. It'll force you to come out of your bubble, and it'll force you to be a whole new person that you never would have thought that you would be. Like, of course, I was intimidated coming into the Greenbrier because it's just like, oh my God, it's all like fancy, prim and proper. And I thought that I would have to completely change who I was. No, it's just a little bit about that you have to change a little bit. But other than that, no. But it just makes you so much more out there. You're not afraid to talk to people. You're not afraid to, you know, I mean, it really makes you a much better person for no matter where you're going in life. I really think that hospitality is a great thing to work in for a while. Definitely.
I always wanted to work in a hotel.
It was just a summer job. And then I just, you know, unfortunately went into a financial hardship for a while. So that also kind of is another reason why my music got put on hold, unfortunately. And then stayed there and then kind of bumped my way up from retail into the concierge position, which you have to be a person that's always on top of their game and ready to talk to people, like 10,000 different faces a day, and get compliments and definitely get complaints all the time. You need this, you need A, B, C, all the way through Z 10 times. And then I got bumped up from there going to a private club, which is a part of the Greenbrier, which is where I am now. So I'm dealing with all the homeowners of all these fancy houses that you see around the Greenbrier. So I take care of those homeowners. So it's just like, I stepped up, and then now I'm actually in the golf department as a supervisor. So I'm all fancy smancy with all of that. So just kept getting bumped up. But yeah, so this is definitely a better paying job, which helped me pay off my student loans that I still had left over. And well, one of them. So I was able to actually apply to go to school online and all that stuff. So there was a lot of plus sides to this job that I'm taking now. So,
Oh yeah.
but it's awesome. It really is. Hospitality, it definitely has its downsides, but it definitely has its pluses too. It definitely makes you a better communicator. It really helps improve so much of you to be able to go no matter what profession you're going into. I highly recommend, no matter who's listening or whatever, if you even take a summer job in a hotel or resort or something, do it, because it makes you a lot better. It really does.
I'll believe it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was already bold and everything like that already, but just working in hospitality just amplified that by 10. So, because now I get into those things every now and then. I'll talk to just someone will say something, and it's like those random people that talk to you in the store or something like that, and and all of a sudden my hospitality brain will the switch will flick on. It's just like, oh yeah, well I just go on talking. I'm like, I'm coming into the store to not talk to people, but yet sometimes I can't control that switch. It just turns on and off whenever it wants to. So, oh my gosh. We really have talked about everything.
We really have.
I cannot wait to see what you come up with the name for this episode.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be in 2 parts.
Because you're gonna have fun editing this one, honey.
Oh, I know.
You're either gonna be like, oh my gosh, I've been talking to this woman for 2 hours now, or like, that was a really funny part. I'm gonna listen to that again.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
2-parter. Have you ever had anybody with 2 parts yet?
No.
Leave it to me, honey. Always happy to help. Always happy to help. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm going to ask again. Did you think of anything that you wanted to ask? Anything else, music-wise, or anything?
I think I'm good. Do you have anything you want to add?
Oh my gosh. Well, one, thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast.
Thank you for being on.
I was super excited when you asked me to be on, and then I was like, at first I was very nervous because I was like, I'm technically not teaching. I'm not really involved in music right now, but I was like, I can definitely talk about like other things that, things that I've been involved with and stuff like that. So, I mean, just like to get another viewpoint, I guess, of like, someone who's in music, trying to get back into music, that type of thing. So, I mean, I was like, it'll work out somehow.
No, yeah, it definitely has.
So that's awesome. Well, and plus just to like do some like mini sessions of catching up with you, because I haven't seen you in, forever, and just seeing like how you have progressed, and like with, even with music, but just teaching in general, just seeing how you progress is awesome. And seeing how you're growing from the little shy little Sarah that was in the corner to seeing you as a teacher.
College was scary. Like, like band camp, I was like, oh gosh, what have I done?
You were so terrified. Was I the first person that, like, I don't even remember. Did you come up to me or did I come up to you? I feel like I scared you at first. But then again, I have a tendency to scare everyone who doesn't know who I am.
Dude, no, I remember, like, it was like we were out on the field and, like, some of the drumline was talking and you were like, shh. And I was just like...
Oh, but yeah. It was probably one of my serious modes where I was just like, I want to get this done. Probably one of those.
I mean, yeah, who wants to be out on the field for, like, longer than we have to?
Oh, my God. Jesus. Well, it felt like the longer that I was there, the hotter the band camps became. And so I was like, I was over it. I was just like, I'm hot. I'm tired. I want to get off of this field. AstroTurf is not comfortable here. It is not.
Nope.
So, oh, my gosh. But I just, then all of a sudden we blossomed into the cute little friendship that we had, and it was just like, it was just so funny because we were two complete extremes. You're over here, nice and quiet, and then here I am, way over here. It's just two drastic extremes. But it's just weird that I have a tendency to attract the little scared, timid little people. I have a tendency to attract them. I don't know why. Because usually they're just like, I don't want any part of all of this. I don't want any of that. But I'm glad that you did.
Yeah, me too.
I know. I mean, you're doing so awesome. Let me just say that honestly, you really are.
Well, thank you.
I'm very proud that you came out of your shell a lot more than when you started and up to now being a teacher, and you're just kind of taking on, especially you're taking on COVID being a teacher and all of that stuff along with everybody else in this country. And that's just awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
So yes, definitely. And if I start a podcast, I will definitely let you be a guest.
Yes, sir.
And
I've already
we'll
got the setup. I've got the setup.
I mean, we'll talk about cats for 2 hours.
Amazing.
We'll talk about anything and everything. So we'll definitely go. We'll definitely, because again, you're not the first person to say that to me. So, and that's really awesome. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, Mattie, thank you for being on.
Thank you. It was so awesome just to talk about music, talk about anything that we were able to think of, and it was awesome, and also catch up and all of that good stuff. So this is great. It actually looks like I actually have a social life when I actually do not.
It's okay. I'm the same way.
I love it. So, well, I love being on. Thank you again for having me and asking for me to be on. That was super exciting. So I love it. And I can't wait to see the more podcasts coming along and all of that good stuff. That's awesome.
Do you have anything you want to promote?
Not really. I don't really have a lot going on, so I don't have a lot of stuff that I'm doing or working on or anything like that. So if I knew if we were doing a Christmas concert, I would totally be promoting that with all of that. But unfortunately, we do not as of right now. But
right.
All of that good stuff. So, but, and I would say, follow me on social media and stuff like that, but I do not have my social media right now. I'm kind of taking a little social media detox right now and kind of getting away from it for a while. So just kind of focusing on focusing on me a little bit more and not focusing on things that are not important. So
yeah.
So it got to that point in time in this country where I was just like, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want any more. I need to focus on myself and get myself together and just, so, all the good stuff.
Yes.
Again, thank you so much, Sarah. It was awesome to be a part of your little podcast.
Thank you.
Yes, my dear. So, and of course, I'm always game for another part 2. So you call me, honey. If you just,
I will.
I need a Hail Mary. Mattie, she said I could call her again. So you call me up, honey. I mean, I'll definitely work you into my empty schedule to do another one anytime you want. So okay. I'm always available.
I'll definitely take you up on that.
I'm always here for you, my dear. I'm always here for you.
And that is it for part 2 with Mattie Jones. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to like and follow this podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it on. If you like this podcast and want to be on it, feel free to message me. I am on Instagram as Stereotypically Sarah. Yeah, that's about it. I really enjoyed this podcast with Mattie, and I'm sure you did too. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time on Teach Talk with the Fine Arts.